Hello, and welcome to Intention Ascension. Today, we are going to talk about the pineal gland, which, of course, is also the third eye, but I'm going to touch on some different things than I did with the third eye chakra video. One of the things that we're going to talk about is the brain and how the brain has trace levels of copper and carbon. It has more carbon than it does copper, but copper is a conduit for electricity, and it's one of the highest conduits out of the metals that help our brain function. So there's been a lot of research done that shows that these are the essential building blocks of our cells, and we have billions of neurons in our brain that help us to connect and communicate with the world around us. So the copper comes into play because of its conduit of electricity. So one of the things that we learned, and I have a video on the heart chakra, but the heart chakra will illuminate the most electricity than any of our other chakras. But the third eye is extremely important in connecting us to our universal world and having those transcendental experiences, to being able to have images that come across our forehead when we lay down to sleep at night. If you're just beginning this process of opening your third eye or exercising your pineal gland, you may see colors, traces of lights, different objects, like little squiggly lines coming through that are appearing. And those are all signs that you are learning how to connect. So I know I said this in a previous video, but I'll reiterate it again. One of the things that I would do in the process of opening my third eye is I would imagine a dot, and it can be any color. It doesn't matter. I now personally see them in the violet light, amethyst, mostly more so than any other color, but each color is associated with something different. So yellow is for intelligence, orange is for psychic development, blue is for peace and harmony, red, love, sex, money, power, green is for healing, and then the violet light is the highest level of protection. And so I have, and especially in the beginning, have seen different shapes and different lights and things that would come across my third eye in a bunch of different colors. Often in the beginning, white was what I was seeing. And so I imagine that dot, and then I try to follow it like as though it's an umbilical cord to the universe, which essentially it is. And it brings us deeper and deeper into our subconscious mind and being able to access beyond what we have here in the third dimension. So when you lay down at night, or if you're waking up and you're doing your meditation in the morning, or whenever you're sitting down for your meditation, try to visualize. And if it's not something you've done before, try to do it in a dark space. Eventually you will get to the place where you can do things in the light. You will be able to open up your third eye in the light, but it's a lot easier to start out trying to do it in the dark. So I don't even know why I went off on that. But so we've got the carbon and we have the copper, right, which are helping to make up everything that we need to experience those transcendental moments and times and meditation. So these elements can influence our brains and our memories. And there's actually a link to copper in the brain with Alzheimer's also. It will affect our overall mood. And it's linked to our melatonin production in our bodies, which is also linked to the circadian rhythm, which is our internal world and our external worlds coming together. So our pineal gland is what registers when there is less light that is coming in. And so when the night falls, it sends a signal to our bodies to start turning the serotonin into melatonin. And that goes into alignment with the circadian rhythm. Now, one thing when I was first learning about the circadian rhythm is and you can do this too, anytime between like 5 and 7 o'clock at night, go outside and you will start to see the birds like flying around. You'll hear all the dogs in the neighborhood start barking. It's like they're all telling each other good night. They're getting ready to settle down because they are naturally in tune. They already know this. It's like they're way smarter than us, and they're not staying up all night watching Netflix and Hulu. They're on point for the most part, right? So you can go outside and see them all flying around, getting ready. The bats go flying around, birds go flying around, dogs start barking, and you'll hear that stir up. And so when we move from our serotonin production into our melatonin production, it's our pineal gland's way and our body's way of nudging us that it's time to get ready to go to bed. And our melatonin also helps us to keep our body's natural rhythm in flow. So when we're not in a natural flow with the energy that is around us, and this is why it can be so difficult for some people to work overnight shifts, and for some people it comes so naturally. But if we're going against the grain of what our electromagnetic field, what our aura is resonating with, then it can throw us off completely. That's not to say that it can't exactly be trained, but for a person who, as a child was a night owl, they probably carry that into their adulthood too. And no matter how hard you try to flip your sleep patterns, when you get back into what was your normal sleep pattern, you feel so much more comfortable. So yes, you can fight it. You can start training yourself if you are not like nocturnal, but you're having to work overnight shifts. Yes, you can gain the momentum. You can flip your schedule, but you'll be so much happier when you get back to your regular schedule, and vice versa. If you're someone who is naturally a night owl and you don't wake up until 11, 12 o'clock in the afternoon, then that is your internal clock. And so they say that we have these different internal clocks because at one point we did need people who could stay up at night and protect the villages, the communities, the families, and so they played a vital role in being nocturnal. But when we are doing that switch over for ourselves and we're going from the serotonin to the melatonin, it's also about having that healthier sleep schedule for ourselves. So our mood is overall much greater. We're more energized. We're relaxed. Our skin is better. Our energy field when we connect with other people is better. We're basically operating at like a peak performance, and our immune systems are better. We're fighting off sickness much easier. You may be able to be in a classroom full of sick people and you just don't get touched, like you never get sick. That's also a sign that your chakras are coming into alignment, and you are, as your spirit body is evolving inside of your physical body, you are also gaining, I don't even know what it's called, like a spiritual superpower against sickness and diseases and things of that sort, because energies and frequencies in your electromagnetic field can automatically fight off disease. They can automatically fight off sickness. And it's like you're untouchable. You just walk around and it doesn't matter. Like you could You could be doing anything in a room full of sick people, not even washing your hands or whatever, and it just doesn't get you. And that is, it cannot live inside of your body. Whatever the vibration of that sickness is, it cannot live inside of your body. So, um, what was I saying? Oh, I was saying earlier about the link between the copper and the Alzheimer's. Now, there's been a lot of research going on with Alzheimer's and the different things that we are discovering are connected to it, including diabetes and our sugar intakes and things like that. But just the copper in our brain deteriorating from not using it, from not sitting in meditations, from not allowing our bodies to be these conduits of electricity at their full capacity, then things will start to deter, just like, or disintegrate. Just like if you go and you work out and you're building up your muscles, it can take you 6 weeks to start seeing results, and only 2 to 3 weeks to lose all your hard work completely. So, or maybe it's 6 months. I'm so sorry. I should have looked that up before I said that. It was just the first thing that came to my mind. I think it's like 6 months to start really seeing results, and then you can lose it in like 2 or 3 weeks. But don't quote me on that. Just go look it up. I'm not quite sure exactly which one it is. But the melatonin also helps to protect us against free radicals that damage our skin. The melatonin also helps to provide antioxidants for us. So that goes back into being able to fight off sickness and being able to be untouchable in a room full of sick people. And another fun fact about the pineal gland is that it is in the shape of a pine cone. And so you'll see through ancient history and artwork, or on Buddha's head is a symbolism of a pine cone. It's a symbolism. The pine cone is a symbolism of enlightenment. And you'll see this in many cultures and many pictures. You'll see the pine cone being represented, and that is the pineal gland. So there's a lot going on in our bodies that science is actively working on understanding, talking about. There's all these different techniques and tools that are being used nowadays to help us to understand what these electromagnetic fields are inside of us or around us, and the electric areas inside of our bodies, right? But I think if you're listening to my video, you've made it this far, we know that those are chakras, and they are energy centers, and they are actively producing scientific research that says, oh, this is true. There's something going on here, and we're proving it through research. Even though I personally think that there's a lot of research that has been done and a lot of things that people understand that they're not telling us. There's a lot of, right now, I think we're all kind of in the middle of, well, maybe not all of us, but kind of in the middle of all the alien research and the findings, and that, oh yeah, we forgot to tell you, but yeah, we've got this, and there is that operation going on, and it's like, okay, you mean you're hiding stuff from us? So there's tons of research out there that talks about all of the aspects of spirituality, bringing it into alignment with science, and it is being proven that these things are real. And I think a lot of them just don't want us to be able to access our full power, but we have an influx of souls that have reincarnated at this time that are all here for this exact reason, that are all here to spread the word and get it out so that way people can start living in alignment with their passion, with their purpose. And we're we're here to lift the vibration into the 5D, and there's no stopping it. It's happening. It's going to be lifted, and we're mostly operating out of fifth dimension. So I know this is kind of like I guess an intense topic for those who are with me and those who are understanding what I'm saying, and then those who are learning about what it means to be raising the vibration of the planet and what it means to be getting into that fifth dimension. And it's really like this concept of, we are not our bodies, and we all have Christ inside of us. So the pineal gland actually secretes what is called Christ oil, and we are all part and parcel of God, and we all have God energy, and we have the ability to use it. And I believe now, I don't know the Bible verbatim, but Jesus himself essentially said, you can do this too, and you can do this even greater than the things that I have done. So if we were all aware of our capabilities and we started putting into practice our spirituality and aligning in the ways that we are meant to, because we all have our own individual paths, we will no longer be trapped in bondage. So we can see a lot of what's going on in Hollywood right now, and they're making all these connections to people who have essentially sold their soul to be able to gain fame, to be able to gain money. And we don't have to do that. You don't have to, first of all, you don't have to put fame on a pedestal. Just make it your goal that you want to touch the lives of the people that you're meant to, because we have something out here. Every single person has something out here that they're meant to do, paths that they are meant to cross. And that's not to be confused with ego. And ego tells us that we want more and more and more and more and more. And when your cup is never full and you're never actually satisfied, then you're not operating in God's light. You're not operating from a space where you're doing the things around you because you want to continue helping. You're not expressing gratitude. Anyways, I can go on this forever. So I'll stop there. But when it comes down to exercising the fact that we are all part and parcel of God, and we have Christ oil that secretes from our pineal gland, we are able to recognize that we have far greater powers inside of us that we can utilize for our greatest good. And that stems from compassion, that stems from our heart chakra, that stems from unconditional love and the ability to help those who are suffering. And once we move back into that versus where we currently are, which we're already coming out of, and I heard this term, the dinosaur phase. And so the dinosaur phase is a lot of masculine energy, a lot of business structure. Everything is revolving around finances. And we're seeing now this break in society, and we're seeing that a lot of people have reincarnated, and while they're highly spiritual, it's my dog. While they're highly spiritual, they're having a really hard time staying grounded. And so that often turns into psychosis, homelessness. But on the flip side of that, there are also people who came down here specifically choosing the path of homelessness because it's almost like Robin Hood. And so we're really tipping the scales, and we're moving into feminine energy, and we're really moving into compassion, unconditional love. And that is going to be part of what raises the vibration of the planet. And it moves us from this business mindset, so many people aren't going to college anymore. They're not finding it to be worth it that they're getting out here and they're finishing their degree, hundreds of thousands of dollars in debt. And then they're like, oh, okay, I'll pay it back in like 45 years because I got this degree that I was told that I needed, that I was told I should get because I was told I was going to be paid more. And I was told I was going to be successful. And I was told that this is the path to take, only to find themselves making either less or only a couple dollars more than someone who doesn't have the degree, and less than someone who has just really put in the hard work in their field to get to where they're going. So, of course, you can't do that with every occupation. You can't pretend to be a doctor, even though I've seen those videos where in other countries outside of the United States, people have pretended to be doctors. But for the most part, or actually, I think even inside of the United States, but anyways, for the most part, we're not doing that, right? But you look at other companies and you look at where people are and how they get to where they are. And even a degree can't save somebody who has worked their way almost all the way to the top, right? So let's say someone is at a company for, 20 some odd years. They've been there for so long. They're almost to the top. They plan on retiring from that company. All that they needed to move forward was that bachelor's. But now remember, we're 20 years outside of that bachelor's. So they got it. But now they've been let go, or something happened with the company and they're no longer able to be employed by this place anymore. And now all they have is their bachelor's to fall back on, which then drops them down the pay scale from any other company who are probably going to offer them a fraction of what they were making previously. And so then it's like, well, what do I do? Do I get my master's now? And should I go pursue that? And then you find out that you're only going to get $2 or $3 more. And it's still nowhere near where you were previously when you would put all that time and investment into companies. Or you put all your time and your investment into your schooling and you go to a company and you do have someone who has been working for them for a couple of decades and they're making way more than you're making, but you're the one that's hundreds of thousands of dollars in debt. So now we're just on the duality of the scales of things, and nothing is truly safe except for betting on yourself, having multiple streams of income, being able to tap in to your transcendental experiences and figure out what path is yours is going to be what takes you the furthest in this life. There is a path that you chose before you got here that is going to make you so successful. My ear is ringing now. That is going to make you so successful. And I promise you that when you figure out what your path and what your passion is, you are going to ride that little horse all the way to the finish line, and you don't have to worry about anything. And I want to back this up by saying, I'm not saying don't go to college, and I'm not saying don't put a bunch of time into a career or a job that you love, because you absolutely can. If you feel it in your heart that this is what is meant for you and it's working for you and it's bringing you success and happiness, you're on the right path. But if you feel like you're not, tune into yourself and figure out which path you're supposed to be taking, because that is where your passion is. And anytime I get a ringing in my ear, it is a confirmation to me. So this was a super high-pitched ringing. It was this zing. And it reminds me of when I was younger. I used to tell my mom all the time my ears are ringing. And then she would tell me, she'd say, well, answer it. And I'm like, why is this happening? And now as an adult, I recognize I'm just constantly receiving downloads and confirmations. And my previous video, I think it was on the crown chakra. The crown chakra video, I talked about how every single one of my signs and symbols that I receive, I set up with my angels, my ancestors, and guides, and God personally. So you can go onto the internet and you can research the symbolism of animals, of course, but like I have a few select animals that I associate with very specific people who have crossed over. I have certain objects like pennies or license plates that I associate with very specific people. Now, anything outside of and then like my ears ringing. So high pitch for me is a confirmation. Low pitch for me is a warning. My left ear is definitely, it's kind of like an investigate this a little bit more. And my right ear is a confirmation. So depending on the frequency of the vibration and then which ear it is in, then I will know what I'm supposed to do, or I pay attention to what are my thoughts in that moment, what's happening around me, what conversations are taking place, what am I struggling with. When I feel, or like when I'm laying down and I'm thinking, and then I'll have this, like right in my sacral chakra, I'll get like a little rumble or something. And years ago, I set that up as a confirmation for truth. And I will just be like laying on my couch, haven't eaten or drinking anything, in a while, and I'll be thinking about something really important, and I'll get this like gurgle or gurgle. I don't know, it's a terrible gurgle, but I'll know that in that moment that my thoughts are of truth. And so for me, that's a confirmation. Or I'll feel in my heart, I'll feel my heart chakra, and I'll know that that's also a confirmation. So between the two of those, I seek for truth and confirmation. And because those are my lines of communication, that is how my angels, my ancestors, and my guides communicate with me effectively. So we're on the same page. So that way we are headed in the right direction. They know how to communicate with me because I have set those things up in that exact way. So that way when they need to get something through to me, they know exactly that if they, give me that little gurgle in my stomach, that I will take that for truth that is being spoken, or truth in my thoughts, depending on, like I said, what's going on. Now, when it comes to animal symbolisms, I still look them up all the time. Don't get me wrong. I'm not like, even when I know what an animal symbol is, because I've looked it up so many times before, I will still go back and I will look it up, and don't ever go with the very first thing that pops up on Google unless it absolutely resonates with you. Generous, my dog. Unless it absolutely resonates with you, keep going further and further into your research on that specific spirit animal or the spirituality of the animal, and figure out what it is that resonates the most with you. And I say this all the time, but what's meant for you will come to you. You will find exactly what you're looking for. You'll feel like clicking on a link to a website that you've never even heard of before, and then boom, there's your answer, and everything falls into place and it makes sense. So that visualization, I guess maybe I need to speak on visualization. That process of going through the spirit animals, I promise you, you will be able to figure out what it is, what the answer is that's meant for you. So because visualization just popped out of my mouth, okay, what I am getting right now is understanding the emotions behind the visualization process. So when you open up your third eye and you're visualizing, you want to create the emotion coupled with your visualization, right? So starting out, you might just be seeing flashes of lights and shapes and colors and of that sort. But once you start actually creating the visualizations for yourself, it's important to match the energy to that visualization. Being able to create the energy that comes with what it is that you are desiring when you are cohesive with your third eye, when you have developed that relationship with your third eye, you will be able to visualize the things that are really important on your path and on your journey. And when you do that, you will need to create the emotions that are necessary to back it up, because emotions are energy in motion. And that's extremely important to know, because you can have the visualization, but without the two together, it's harder to align energetically. So that's very important. It's definitely more difficult to align, or it's not more difficult, but it takes a little bit longer to align with those frequencies. So I talk about that a lot, but in my video from yesterday, which was February 21st, 2025, I talked about aligning with the frequencies. Oh, today is 222. Okay, this is a big duality day. This is a big day. I need to go. I gotta go meditate. And maybe that's also why this came to me right now, is like my guys are like, hey, go meditate tonight, put your crystals out, especially on full moons. So there's ways that you can clean your crystals or put them out. So today is the 222 portal. And this is going to be all about duality. It's understanding both sides. You know what? I'm going to make a video on that. So I'll make that separate from this, because this was supposed to just be the pineal gland, but I've gone a little, here and there and brought it back. And then the visualization was definitely a download from my guides, because that word just popped out of my mouth. Like, it wasn't even on my mind. It was just like visualization. And then I don't know where it came from, but things like that, they happen. And that's how you know that you're in cahoots and you're in communication. And now I don't, well, whatever. I was going to say, I don't remember if that came before or after my ear ringing, but I think it came after my ear ringing. Anyways, all right. Well, I love you, and I will talk to you soon. Thank you for being here with me.